Alright lads, welcome back to another video. First thing to mention, I am still quite sick. My voice is a little bit raspy, so if you do get annoyed by hearing ill people's voices, I guess, then this might not be the best video for you. Anyway, today I'm reviewing a tank which is so bad, it may very well be the cause of my illness. That's right, of course, it's the new British Rank 4 Premium at battle rating 9.0 for arcade, realistic and sim. It is the Khalid. To put it simply, the Khalid is a modernised Chieftain variant. It has a much improved engine and maybe one or two new changes. But the main selling point of this vehicle is that vastly upgraded engine. But my dear viewers, is that upgraded engine worth nearly 9,000 golden eagles? Well, you can probably already tell from my tone that no, it's really not. It's a good thing that this is a golden eagle premium. If it was a pack premium, it would probably come with 2,000 golden eagles. 15 days of premium time, and a case of the bubonic plague. I don't know what's been a least pleasurable experience in my life, playing this tank to get footage for the review, or generally having flu. Needless to say, the last few weeks of my life have not been pleasant. Anyway, as I mentioned, the Khalid is a rank 4 British Premium at battle rating 9.0, costing 8,910 golden eagles. It will cost you 10,000 silver lines to put this tank in your lineup, and for the expert and ace qualification, it's 970,000 silver lines for the expert and 2,100 golden eagles for the ace quali. And because it's a premium vehicle, you have a very cheap repair cost of 4,560 silver lions. So very economical to play overall. When the Khalid was first added to War Thunder, it only had APDS, but it has since received an APFSDS round. Does this redeem the Khalid? No. Does it make it more bearable to play? Kinda. Should you just buy the Ruicat 105 instead? Yes. But anyway, if you'd like to find out why this tank has made me so miserable, stick around to watch the rest of the video. But first, I'd like to welcome the official sponsor of this video, which is me, SAKO Sniper. Subscribe to my channel for more epic and totally not sarcastic videos. You might want to know why exactly you should subscribe. Well, I've been playing this game since 2013. I make the best War Thunder content on YouTube, and I'm also incredibly humble. Anyway lads, subscribe for more content, and let's get on with the video. Alright lads, welcome back. Starting with the engine and mobility, and the Khalid is powered by an engine producing 1,200 horsepower. Quite a large upgrade over the old Chieftain engine, which along with pretty much all Cold War British engineering was shite. The Khalid in many ways represents the average Middle Eastern man. It's got a fiery attitude with that 1,200 horsepower engine, it's kind of overweight with nearly 60 tons in total mass, and it almost certainly has halitosis. Casual racism aside though, this gives the tank a nearly 21 horsepower per ton ratio, which to many British engineers is probably shocking. I'm surprised that nuts and bolts, road wheels and sprockets aren't flying off the Khalid at near escape velocity, as no British tank was designed to exceed speeds of roughly 15 miles an hour. Jokes aside though, the Khalid can reach a top speed of 56 km per hour, which is very respectable. And we also have a great 37 km per hour reverse speed. While the engine improvement is one of the major upgrades of the Khalid, and to be fair, one of the biggest draws to the vehicle, its mobility, in earnest, isn't really that great compared to a lot of the other tanks around you, especially considering you get up tier to battle rating 9.7 very constantly, with the Leopard 2 premiums and the XM1s kind of just hold your head in the public toilets. You are more mobile than the T-72AV terms, but then again, an overweight American on a Rascal has better tactical mobility than a T-72. So it's not much of an improvement, to be honest. Anyway, what about the survivability? Well, it's a Chieftain and British, so there's ammunition plastered everywhere, as you can see from this cutaway. And as we'll see shortly, its armour scheme basically belongs back at battle rating 7.7. But anyway, the Khalid has a crew of 4 men, with 3 being in the turret and 1 in the driver position. And if we're being fancy, the driver is technically in a supine position, which was revolutionised by the Chieftain. Does this matter in War Thunder? No, it's just some cringy tank fact that I know for some reason. Anyway, because the Chieftain was a pretty early Cold War design, it mainly still features cast and rolled armor schemes. It was designed to defeat the guns of the T-54 and T-55, which at the time was still using fairly large caliber APC-BC and APDS rounds. They eventually moved to Heaterfest, but against those types of ammunition, the Chieftain is fairly well protected. However, the Russians then ruined everything and created the T-64, and they pioneered the APFSDS round. While the Chieftain could essentially laugh off any World War II APC-BC round, a long thin dart of tungsten or depleted uranium travelling at several thousand meters per second, well, let's borrow a term from something the British government would probably say. The Chieftain's armour against this new type of ammunition will probably offer sub-optimal performance. And this is very well portrayed in game, as I've already mentioned, you do get up tier to 9.7 pretty much every game. Especially things like the premium Leopard 2 and the T-72AV terms, they will pretty much go straight through you pretty much everywhere apart from the thickest part of your turret. Speaking of which, if you look at the armour, the lower frontal plate has a thickness of 76.2mm, so 3 inches of steel, gives you around 120mm of effective thickness. It's quite well angled though, but it is a major weak spot, and because you've got so much, well, personnel and ammunition scattered around the tank, a lower frontal plate shot is likely to kill you in a single hit. We then move up to the upper frontal plate, which was famously very thick on the Chieftain. Well, it was very well angled, which gave it a good effective thickness. It was only 86mm thick, so just over 3.5 inches, but this angling of around 69 degrees gave it an effective thickness of 220mm. While in a down tier, this may be pretty decent, but in an up tier where you go up against stuff like the T-72AV terms, which have over 470mm of penetration, this upper frontal glacis isn't very well protected. You can make a pretty bold claim and say that Heaterfest rounds may just bounce straight off this, but even then, they're probably still going to go straight through as if they were just APFSDS rounds. And finally, the turret armor of this vehicle. It's fairly decent, it's variable thickness armor schemes. The thickest part that I found is around 293mm, so 300mm average. This isn't it's not 300mm average ever on the tank, obviously, but it's still easily penetrable by pretty much everything at 9.3 and above, which is the majority of your games. To demonstrate this, if we take a look at the amp performance against the Leopard A1A1L44, the other premium German 9.0, which used to be the meta but is now kind of died off. Anyway, to a range of 100 meters using the DM13 shell with 390mm of penetration, we can see that basically the entire front of the Khalid is penetrable. Apart from the very tops of the upper frontal glacis, which are a little bit, the impact angle is quite high, so it pretty much leads to a bounce. But the front of the turret is pretty much easy penetration anywhere apart from the top of the gun bulge, and the lower frontal plate is just an easy pen, so you may as well just shoot there if you are going up against a Khalid. As I've already said, there is a lot of ammunition there, so it is almost certainly going to lead to a one-shot kill. But enough doom and gloom, what about the firepower? Well, the very first tank to see combat was armed with basically Royal Navy guns, the 6-pounder. I guess it was technically a French gun of origin, but we're going to gloss over that. Another cringy tank historical fact that I know, but anyway, the Khalid is armed with the 120mm Ordnance BLTK L11 cannon. We can carry 54 rounds of ammunition in total, with a first stage ready rack of 17 rounds. The tank has pretty good vertical guidance characteristics of 10 degrees of gun depression and 20 degrees of gun elevation. As you'd expect, the gun has a 2-plane gun stabilizer, but rather disappointingly, the targeting speed of the turret, or basically the speed at which the turret can traverse, is still quite low at only 16 degrees per second. However, that can be increased with the gunner's skills. If we take a look at the reload time, we can see that we have a base reload time of 9.75 seconds. So that is your reload speed with a stock crew, and with a fully ace crew, that decreases down to 7.5 seconds. So it's not really looking too great. We have a 120mm gun, that's pretty decent, especially for 9.0, but our reload rate is slower than that of the T-72, which has an autoloader which does it in 7.1 seconds, and most of the other 9.7 tanks with fairly large caliber guns can reload every 6 to 6.7 seconds. And while you can argue that this is only battle rating 9.0, again, most of your games are at a high battle rating, so you do kind of just get shat on basically. But if this tank has a long reload speed, maybe it has a real good shell to benefit this, or to make up for this. Well, this isn't World of Tanks, so that's not how it works. Anyway, our stock shell is the L15A3. This is an APDS round. It used to be the main shell of this tank until they added the APFSDS. It travels at nearly 1400 meters per second and has 320 millimeters of penetration. But as it is a small caliber projectile, it has very little post penetration damage, meaning you will have to hit ammunition or enemy crew members directly to reliably get one-shot kills. Unlike the larger APFSDS rounds, APDS doesn't create as much spalling. We also have the L34 smoke shell, kind of useful, but I don't tend to take it that often, to be honest. We do also then have the L31A7, it's a HES shell, pretty respectable 6 inches of penetration with 6.5 kilos of TNT filler. Again, maybe a nice meme round, but not really something you should be maining. We then finally have the L23 round. This is the APFSDS round that I was talking about. It travels faster than the APDS at nearly 1600 meters per second, and it can penetrate 410 millimeters of armor at point blank range. However, this is a very early APFSDS round, and its penetration against angled armor is pretty bad, to be honest. While this round does improve the lethality of the Khalid, it's still not enough in my opinion. The gun handling of this tank in general isn't that great. The APFSDS round, as I've already covered, isn't as amazing as you'd like it to be. The reload speed is pretty bad, and the turret traverse is also pretty limiting. You can mitigate this by turning the hull as well as the turret, but that certainly isn't ideal. Another thing to mention is that the gun basically cannot depress when you turn the turret 90 degrees basically off the front of the tank. The tank basically has gun ramps around the vehicle which basically force the gun to elevate around the sides and rear of the vehicle. This is very annoying, to be honest. If you get shot in the back and you want to try and turn your turret around to shoot someone, you physically cannot. I assume that these are fuel tanks, but anyway, again, British design, bad, as I've already mentioned. So we come to the fact of, is it worth it, the money? And as you can guess, absolutely not. The Ruicat 105 is the same battle rating at 9.0. It's much faster. It has a much more powerful gun with DM33 now. It also has thermal imaging. While technically it has less effective armor, you could say. I'd also say that's not really a bad thing because the Khalid's armor isn't that good, to be honest. It's kind of just more dead weight that you're carrying around with you for no real reason. Maybe the Khalid's armor will protect you from something like a BMP2, whereas the Ruicat you'll probably die. But all in all, both the Khalid and the Ruicat are basically one-shot kills to any of the main battle tanks at 9.0 and upwards. Anyway, lads, as you can probably tell, my voice is like I've put a blender down there, or a wasp, a hive of, is it a hive of wasps have stung my throat? Anyway, I sound like I've smoked 50 cigarettes in an hour. So yeah, lads, I hope you enjoyed the video. I've not been able to make lots of videos because my voice has been even worse than this. Hopefully it's been tolerable. Is the Khalid a good grinder? No. Is it an effective tank? No. Is it fun to play? No. I don't really see why Gaijin have added this tank. The Challenger Mark II was pretty dire. This is absolutely atrocious, and basically, I don't know why they've done this really. They could have added the Chieftain 9000, which was, I think, a little bit like this, but better. I don't know. Anyway, it's a cash grab. Well, no one wants to buy it, so I don't understand. I can understand if they added a premium that everyone wanted, so they'd make money off it, like the SG25 or the A10. But who the hell wanted this thing? Anyway, lads, I'm going back to bed now. Don't give Gaijin money for no reason. This is trash. Anyway, big thanks to all my YouTube members and everyone that continues to support me. Bloody hell. Right, good night, lads. I'm off to death, I imagine. Ta-da.